Hello and welcome to today's webinar on moving textiles to Great Britain from the European Union, delivered by the Cabinet Office's Border, Trade and Brexit Opportunities Unit. This webinar is part of a series of webinars being run over the next few months and is intended to give traders, in particular EU exporters and British a simple step-by-step guide for how to export goods to Great Britain since the 1st of January 2022, following the introduction of new importing controls for moving goods into Great Britain. Just to go through some ground rules before we start, please can you put yourself on mute and keep on mute throughout the webinar with your camera turned off. Ask any questions that you may have in the Q&A or chat bar throughout the webinar, and we will publish a recording of this webinar alongside the slides after the session, along with a document setting out the answers to any frequently asked questions. Surveys on business readiness are now running. Please answer the short questions on our Slido on your browser or your mobile using the code that's available on the slides. So, what is changing for people moving goods between the EU and Great Britain? This slide shows the two key dates relating to textiles coming into the country. The first changes have now come into effect from the 1st of January 2022, and the second set of changes are due to come into effect from the 1st of July 2022 onwards. As of the 1st of January, full import declarations are required. This includes the use of simplified procedures known as the Simplified Customs Declaration Process, SCDP, which was formerly known as CFSP, and you will be required to do this if you're authorised to do so. This will also include the payment of relevant tariffs at import. The next changes are due to come into effect from the 1st of July 2022 onwards. This will include entry summary declarations, which will be required on imports into Great Britain. Please note that in this example, the entry summary declaration and the safety and security declarations are both done by the ferry operator. It's also worth noting that the fabric that's being moved in this example does not include products of animal origin, and therefore no DEFRA steps are taken as this is not an SPS movement. This presentation will cover the processes and the border procedures required to move textiles from the EU into Great Britain, with particular focus on the border requirements in Great Britain from the 1st of January 2022 and the 1st of July 2022 onwards. In this case study, we will specifically be looking at moving fabric from Belgium. It is important to note that GB ports or terminals receiving goods that are moving into Great Britain from the EU have the option to choose between two models for customs controls. The first model is the temporary storage model, which allows goods to be stored for up to 90 days at a government-approved facility before a declaration is made. And the second is the new pre-lodgement model, which was developed as an alternative for where border locations may not have the space or infrastructure to operate a temporary storage regime. In this example, the movement is a direct sea movement from the port of Zeebrugge to an eastern port in Great Britain, and the temporary storage model will be used. The freight is also moving as unaccompanied ro-ro. This slide introduces the three main people in our journey. Claire is the importer based in Great Britain. Claire is aware that new border requirements and paperwork will be required to import fabric from Belgium to Great Britain. Clément is the exporter based in Belgium, and he sells the fabric to Great Britain. Clément has been exporting to Great Britain for a number of years. He is aware that Great Britain has now left the European Union and that there are new border requirements and paperwork that he will now need to complete. Frank is the driver and the trailer operator for the haulage firm, which is based in Belgium. Frank will transport the trailer with the fabric from Clément's warehouse to the port. Chris is the driver and the trailer operator for a haulage firm that is based in Great Britain. He will transport the trailer with the fabric from the GB port to Chris. In this example, we outline the changes that are required from the 1st of January 2022 and the final rule changes that will be required from the 1st of July 2022 onwards. This slide shows a quick summary of the journey, which highlights the new importing changes beginning in Belgium and finishing in Great Britain. From the 1st of January 2022, Clement makes a combined EU export declaration. He sends an electronic copy of this to Claire and will ready the textiles for Frank to collect at his premises in Belgium. Claire ensures that the GB import declaration is made. Frank will then collect the textiles and deposit them at the port of Zeebrugge. Will then bring the textiles into GB and ensure that they enter the temporary storage regime. Chris will collect the textiles from the port in Great Britain using the UCN provided by Claire. Chris will then take the textiles to Claire's premises where she will receive the textiles in Great Britain. As mentioned, the ferry operator will be completing the entry summary declaration in this example. Let's now move on to the step-by-step guide. Prior to shipping the goods, Clement, the EU exporter, and Claire, the British importer, will need to agree on the type of Incoterms that they will trade on. Incoterms are the rules which set out everyone's responsibilities when exporting and importing. You can click on the link provided in the slides for more information. In this example, Clement will be responsible for and carry out the export procedures, and Claire will be responsible for and carry out the import procedures. Frank will deposit the goods at the port in Zeebrugge, and Chris will pick up the goods at the port in Great Britain. Also to stress, in this example, the goods are not moving under transit. A link for more information on movements using transit is available in the slide pack. If you decide to use a customs agent to move your goods for you, you will need to agree their roles and responsibilities before shipping the goods. Claire will also need to apply for a GB Economic Operators Registration and Identification Number. This is known as an EORI for short. An EU EORI number is needed when interacting with EU systems, and a GB EORI number is needed for completing GB customs processes. An EORI number identifies who is importing or exporting the goods. To apply for an EORI number in the EU, you can go and check out the EU Commission website or click the link available within the slides. Clement needs to apply for an EU EORI number. Clement should speak to Claire to confirm that she has already done this prior to the export. In general, most businesses will hire a company such as a freight forwarder or a customs agent to deal with the customs for them. Sometimes the company you use to transport your goods can do the customs paperwork for you. In this example, however, Claire and Clement decide to do the paperwork themselves. Frank's haulage company will need an EU EORI number to use the border and customs system in the EU. Chris's company will need a GB EORI number again to use the border and customs system in GB. Even if you hire a company to do the customs paperwork for you, you will still need to apply for an EORI number. It is important to note that once you have a GB EORI number, you will not need to apply for this again. The EORI is related to your company rather than each import or export, and so it will remain the same. Further information on GB EORI numbers can be found on gov.uk by searching EORI, or you can click the link on the slides for further information. In this case, Claire, the GB importer receiving the goods, is also the declarant, the person responsible for submitting the import declaration, as agreed with Clement when they agreed their Incoterms. This means that in addition to a GB EORI number, Claire will need access to GB computer systems or software to submit the declarations. In this example, Claire will need access to the customs handling of import and export freight system known as Chief. Chief is the GB computer system that records the import declaration when importing the goods from overseas. Claire will access Chief either via an intermediary or via third-party software known as a community system provider, a CSP. The CSP is the entity operating the software, and this will be the CSP that's exclusive to the port. The CSP will send her declaration electronically to Chief. Further information on this can be found in the link within the slides. It is worth noting as well that Chief will eventually be replaced by the Customs Declaration Service known as CDS. For Claire to access Chief, she will need to apply using a C1800 form, which is available on gov.uk. She will need to include information such as her contact details, her EORI number, which CSP she'll be using, the badge allocated to her by the CSP, the port location her goods will be travelling through, and the entry processing unit number. It is important to note that there are costs associated with using this system, and again, many people will choose to use an agent to do this for them. Under the new trading rules, some EU and GB goods can be moved from the EU into GB without having to pay tariffs. The rules of origin stipulate that only goods produced in the EU or GB benefit from the zero tariff agreement. So if your goods were made in another country, such as China, you would have to pay tariffs on them. If traders cannot prove that their product meets the rules of origin through the relevant paperwork, they cannot benefit from the zero tariff agreed with the EU. You can search for rules of origin on gov.uk for further information. Claire makes sure that Clement's goods meet the rules of origin, and as Clement's fabric is produced in Belgium, Claire can claim a tariff-free rate and won't have to pay tariff costs for moving goods. You can check the tariff rates for different products at the web address found on the slides. Please note that when importing fabric, the supplier will need to provide the exact measurement as well as the weight of the fabric on their export documents so that the correct commodity codes can be assigned to the import. Claire also needs to check on gov.uk that the fabric is compliant with GB labelling and marketing rules prior to the export from the EU. For products such as fabric, you will need to show on the label in English the fibre content, including fur or other animal parts. If the product consists of two or more components with different fibre contents, the content of each must be shown. The label should be durable, easily legible, visible and accessible. You can find out more about labelling requirements on the Business Companion website, the link to which is available within the slides. Further information on labelling and packaging can also be found on gov.uk. Most labelling changes will be required from the 30th of September 2022. As Claire has planned to take her fabric straight from the port, before the goods arrive in GB, Claire needs to submit the UK import documentation. Claire submits the import declaration via the CSP, which is linked to Chief. She will also need to include the following information: the CPC, the Customs Procedure Code, the Commodity Code, the Declaration Unique Consignment Reference, known as the DUCR. This is a main reference number that links the declaration and the Chief system, which will later be replaced by Customs Declaration Service. The DUCR is produced from the importer's commercial records and must be in a defined format. Further information can be found in the link on the slides. Claire also needs to provide information such as the departure point and the destination, the type, amount and packaging of the goods, the transport methods and costs, currencies and valuation methods, and certificates and licenses. Once the import declaration has been complete, an entry reference number is then produced in Chief. The entry reference number has now been produced, and Claire will need to ensure that she keeps this reference. This will be needed to release the goods when they arrive at the GB port. Please note that the entry reference number is a customs identification number that's created each time a declaration is submitted for importing or exporting goods. The number that is generated is bespoke and allows the goods to be uniquely linked to you. As Clement has submitted a combined export and safety and security declaration, as has an export accompanying document, a separate exit summary declaration will not need to be submitted on the Member State Export Control System. If a combined export declaration and a safety and security declaration has not been submitted, a separate export summary declaration would then be required. Clement will need to submit a merged exit summary declaration and export declaration to the Belgian Export System (PLDA). This may be accompanied by an export accompanying document, which will include a movement reference number. On the export declaration, Belgium will be shown as the country of export and the country of exit from the European Union. Clement will list the port of exit as Zeebrugge. It is important that Clement lodges his export declaration in Belgium, i.e. the country where he is based, and this is the country where he is also VAT registered. Clement has now submitted the export declaration, and he has sent an electronic copy of this to Claire. Frank can now collect the textiles from Clement's premises in Belgium and take them to the port of Zeebrugge. Frank collects the goods and the haulage company ensures that he has all the relevant documentation. Before Frank transports the goods to the port, he will need a booking number from the shipping company. He will use the RX Seaport Community Service, and he will need to ensure that he has the movement reference number for Clement so that this can be provided to the shipping company. This reference number will be linked together with his booking number when he arrives at the port. Meanwhile, in Great Britain, Claire has supplied and recorded information such as the arrival time, the weights, the commodity codes for the temporary storage, and the port of arrival via the inventory linked system. The link to the inventory linked system can be found in the slides. Claire ensures that the booking accurately reflects the pre-lodged entry, e.g. the packages and the weights, and sends the information to Chris, the GB trailer operator. While at the port, a notice of arrival is sent to PLDA, the Belgian customs system. The trailer ID and the movement reference number, or the movement reference numbers if there is more than one shipment on the trailer, is sent by the terminal operator, and the export declaration is paired to the trailer with the fabric in PLDA. PLDA then sends the exit confirmation to Frank, and the loading report is lodged by the cargo handler. The export manifest is lodged by the shipping company into PLDA, and the notification of departure is sent by the port authority to PLDA. Finally, the trailer with the fabric is then loaded onto the vessel, and the vessel will depart the port. So now the goods are ready to leave Belgium at the port in Zeebrugge. Frank has delivered the goods to the port and has communicated the booking number. After the fabric has left the port and is on the vessel, the export manifest will then be transmitted to the inventory linked system. This will form the temporary storage declaration for the consignments. A unique consignment number, known as a UCN, is automatically created in the CSP from the data in the ferry operator's manifest. An on-hold status will then be sent to all units aboard the vessel. The vessel has now arrived in the GB port. Claire links the unique consignment number with the ERN to Chief. A goods arrived message is then sent via the community system provider, the CSP, to Chief. As Claire has pre-lodged her customs declaration for the fabric can then be collected after its arrival at the GB port. If Claire had not done this, the fabric would go into temporary storage for up to 90 days. Any border force inspections are advised automatically from Chief to the CSP. Manual holds can also be placed. This means that border force can place a local hold manually on the inventory system. For example, if there's intelligence to suggest an inspection is needed. HM government and port staff are also able to place manual holds on goods for non-customs safety reasons. For example, if there's non-payment of port fees. Please note that all goods must be presented within 3 hours of arrival of the vessel to customs. Claire will then receive permission from HMRC to remove the goods via the CSP. Once Claire has received this release note, Chris can collect the goods and take them to Claire's premises in Great Britain. Please note that Border Force or the National Clearance Hub may request further detail. As mentioned, this movement is an unaccompanied RoRo, so depending on the port of entry, some GB ports will require the use of the Goods Vehicle Movement System (GVMS) if they want goods to be cleared at the port quickly. As outlined earlier, the textiles may also be subjected to documentary or physical inspection. Chris will be made aware if checks are required. As Chris's haulage company is associated with the consignment of the fabric, the CSP will send a notification directly to Chris if any checks are required. Claire, as the agent who claimed the unit, will also receive any inventory updates on her consignment of fabric. In this example, the textiles are not selected for any inspection, meaning that Chris can now take the textiles to Claire's premises. Chris is now ready to drive the goods to Claire's premises. As we can see, Chris has now drove the goods to Claire's premises and where he will deposit them. Since the textiles meet the rules of origin in the Trade Incorporation Agreement, Claire will not have to pay any customs duty. The goods, however, are still liable for import VAT. Chris has now delivered the goods successfully to Claire at her premises in Great Britain. Chris does not need to take any further action. As Claire has received the fabric, she can now make any updates to Chief that are necessary. For example, if the time of import changes compared to the pre-notification that she had previously submitted. The declaration must be updated to arrived by the end of the working day following the day on which the goods arrived in Great Britain. Since the 1st of January 2022, Claire may find simplified declarations useful for making import declarations. To use them, her GB EORI will need to be approved for Simplified Customs Declaration Processes, known as SCDP. Or Claire can appoint an agent that is authorised before the goods are imported. Claire would make a simplified frontier declaration or an entry into declarant's records at the time that the goods are imported, and follow this up with a supplementary declaration which has to be made by the 4th working day of the month following the date of import. In order to be approved for SCDP, Claire must have a good compliance record as well as a duty deferment account. Further information on this is available on gov.uk. The tariff rates show you the rate of import duty you should pay for goods. Prior to import, Claire checked and confirmed that this is a zero tariff journey. Tariff codes can be found in the link in the slides. In addition to tariffs, all goods imported into Great Britain incur VAT. The standard rate of VAT in the UK is 20%. However, VAT rates differ on different goods and services. To check the VAT rate for the products that you are importing, please see the link available within the slides. Claire is VAT registered, so she can use postponed VAT accounting to account for import VAT. Import VAT on imported goods is normally charged at the same rate as if the goods had been supplied in Great Britain. Textiles attract a VAT at a 20% rate, which will have to be accounted for on the import. For any imports where VAT needs to be paid, this will be paid on Claire's VAT return that covers the date of import. For further information, please see the link in the slides. Alternatively, Claire, having registered for a duty deferment account, may choose to use postponed VAT accounting to account for the import VAT. This means that if she imports goods regularly, she can make one payment a month through direct debit instead of paying for each individual consignment. So Claire has now received her goods and she has completed all the relevant actions. This means that the fabric is now in free circulation within Great Britain. These next few slides show a checklist of the actions that each person will need to complete for the movement of the goods. First, Clement, the Belgian exporter, will need an EU EORI number. He will need to agree the terms and conditions with the British importer. He will need to submit the export declaration to the Belgian customs system, and he will need to provide a statement of origin for rules of origin purposes. Frank, the Belgian trailer operator, will need to ensure that his haulage company have an EU EORI number. He will need a booking reference number for the shipping company, and he will need the movement reference number for Clermont. Chris, the GB trailer operator, will need to have the movement reference number in order to collect the goods from the GB port. Claire, the British importer, will need to ensure that she has agreed the type of Incoterms that she will trade on with the EU exporter. She will need a GB EORI number. She will need to register for a duty deferment account. She will need to check that the goods meet the rules of origin. She will need to check the tariff rates for the goods. She will need to check on gov.uk that the goods are compliant with EU labelling marketing rules. And finally, she will need to submit the import declaration using Chief. So this next slide contains a list of useful links for you to get more information about what you need to do to be ready for the new border control changes. As mentioned at the start of this presentation, we will be publishing the slides for you to read through and check the links out at your own. Thank you for listening to today's presentation. We hope that you found it useful. We'll be taking away any questions from the chat and we'll publish the answers to frequently asked questions in a document to either view online on gov.uk or to be sent out via email. The slides will also be available after the presentation, so you can download and click on any of the links. Thank you again for listening.